kiddos, welcome to PWP.
Pitts, Wilson, and Pitts. We are going to go over the two past Google Forms we have completed over the belt, and that is going to be from the past Friday and this Tuesday.
You guys know I always say, and I know Miss Pitts and Miss Wilson do as well, that if we give you guys an assignment and we never go over it, well, what good does that do? You don't know why you missed the ones that you missed. The whole point in us giving you guys these assessments are to see what you already know and what you need help with. So we want to touch back on these questions.
Going to question 1 from day 1, what is the setting of the story? And we know that the setting is where the story takes place. And so for the most part, what is the setting? And I have to say, a lot of you did very well.
Yes.
It was Happy Life Home. If we missed it, it's because we clicked Happy Family Home, which was very close, but I wanted to make sure people were paying attention to the text closely and actually going back before selecting their answers.
And that's one of those things where you think you remember it and you click it. Just always go back and double check yourself, especially when it's something easy like that. You know, the setting tells us when or where, and obviously you had those two that were very similar. And that's another test taking skill, making sure that you read all of the answer choices, because the wrong or the incorrect answer was the second one. And so always go through all of those choices just to make sure.
The second question is, when George and Lydia enter the nursery, what does it transform into? So when they first entered that nursery, what does it transform into? And the answer was a real looking African grassland.
Right.
Which people did very well on.
Yes, you guys rocked this. That one was a pretty much, it's right there.
Yes.
It's right there. Come on, kiddos. It's right there. Unless you didn't read it and you just guessed, which I think I might have had a few.
No.
Read the I know.
Oh.
Read the story. It was really interesting.
It was good.
I know, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those stories that I knew they would like because, you know, they like the out there stuff.
Line 17 through 27 creates what type of mood? Explain your answer using complete sentences. So for the most part, a lot of you did very well. On the last video, we did go over mood real fast to make sure you really did know that it's supposed to be how you feel. It's not supposed to be you just saying the character felt this way. Mood is how the author makes the reader feel while reading this. And I have to say, I had a lot of great moods turned in, and could I read a few of what my kiddos said?
Yes, we need to do that.
A lot of the popular ones that were said, uneasy was very popular. They said that they felt uneasy.
Yes.
They said that they felt nervous while reading it. They thought something bad was going to happen, and that caused them to feel nervous, stressed. It also said that they felt curious and in suspense because they didn't know what was going to happen next, and they just needed to know. Those were probably the people that were commenting on the video, why would you leave us on a cliffhanger? They also felt suspicious because they knew something bad was about to happen, and they felt fearful for the parents. They were afraid of what was going to happen next.
And I love those kiddos that, you know, with mood and theme that we're going to go on and talk about on our next lesson, you have to give that text evidence. And it's not all going to be the same answer. Mm-hmm. Mood can affect different people. I mean, you know, you could definitely say ominous, uneasy, but then you also had to give that evidence that made you feel that way. What made you as the reader feel that way? And I love one of my kiddos said the scream. She heard a scream.
Yes, the scream was very popular for mine as well.
And when you hear a scream, yes, a scream is usually because you're startled. A scream is never a good thing.
No.
Just make sure that when you say what the mood is, I had some kiddos who would say a mood, and it did fit. But if you don't provide that evidence to explain to us why that it made you as the reader feel that way, then you're not getting that full credit.
Do George and Lydia first react to the nursery setting in the same way yes or no, explain your answer using complete sentences. Now we kind of gave them the answer to this because when we did the reading, one of the questions I was asked is if George is taking it as seriously as Lydia.
Right.
And that in itself is showing that they did not react the same way because George did not take it very seriously at all. He's very amused at Lydia's feel.
Most of my kiddos, said no.
Yes.
Make sure though, again, that you put that text evidence. For example, Lydia is on the verge of tears.
Yes.
She is.
That's actually the person I'm on right now. They talked about how Lydia was scared and was crying and trying to warn George, but he wasn't believing anything she was saying.
And he was amused. He was literally laughing. It's not real.
Mm-hmm.
But Lydia was frightened from the get-go.
Exactly.
Because she didn't like the feeling.
So what is Lydia concerned about most in lines 55 through 59? And if you actually go back to that specific section, you see what she's afraid about is that the house is making her unnecessary. Because she talks about how she can't bathe the kids as quickly as the scrubble can.
Yes, well, I'm going to actually read it because this is what I have my tabs open. 55 says, but I thought that's why we bought this house, so we wouldn't have to do anything. And she says, that's just it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't belong here. The house is wife and mother now, and nursemaid. Can I compete with an African Velt? Can I give a bath and scrub the children as efficiently or quickly as the automatic scrub bath can? I cannot. And it isn't just me. It's you. You've been awfully nervous lately. And so she even tries to point out, she's trying to get him to see that you even feel that way.
What change is shown in paragraph 66?
And so that's one of those again. You go to
You
paragraph
have to go
66, yes, and it says, as for the nursery, thought George Hadley, it won't hurt for the children to be locked out of it a while. Too much of anything isn't good for anyone, and it was clearly indicated that the children had been spending too much time on Africa. That sun, he could feel it on his neck still, like a hot paw, and the lions, and the smell of blood. Remarkable how the nursery caught the telepathic emanations of the children's minds and created life to feel their own desire.
He's realizing now maybe too much of this
Yes.
isn't the best. He's starting to lean more towards Lydia's side now.
Right.
So the answer is George's reaction to the nursery is changing. That is the change that is being made.
And we have discussed a character's change over time.
Oh, yes.
Think about Crispin. In the beginning of Crispin and that big change over time. And George is kind of the same way. The more he's involved with this nursery, the more his wife voices her concerns, he begins to change. All right, what character trait do we learn about Peter in paragraphs 85 through 89? Again,
Everyone did very well on this question.
yes. Again, it's right there. When you go back to 85 through 89.
If it gives you the paragraphs, please go back and check because it is giving you the answer. It's showing you exactly where you have to look to get it right.
It says, or Peter said it to remain that way. Said it? He may have gotten to the machinery and fixed something. Peter doesn't know machinery. He's a wise one for 10, that IQ of his, nevertheless. So, what does it tell us right there?
Peter is smart.
Right.
And that is actually very important because, it makes the ending more believable because we realize he is smart enough to devise that type of plan to lock his parents into the nursery.
It's an example of
Foreshadowing.
yes. Remember that before foreshadow, a shadow of a clue. It's a hint to let us know something is happening.
I will say pre-AP on classifying the parenting styles of Lydia and George, they did a great job explaining that Lydia and George at the very beginning, it sounds like they were very permissive. They let the kids do whatever they want. They don't really have any strict rules with them. They're able to skip dinner. The only rule is that they couldn't take a jet to New York. But then, after the nursery, they start setting more rules. They start being more authoritarian with them, sending them straight to their bedrooms. And the kids are lashing out. They do not like that the parents are starting to be stricter on them And that's where the tension really starts to build. So now day 2. Okay, day 2 from this Tuesday. What would you say is the central conflict? And then it says what paragraphs to look at, 151 through 172. So what would you say is the central conflict in this story?
Now, a story can have more than one conflict.
Oh, yes.
But when you were talking about the central conflict, that's the main one. What was the big problem in the story? And, of course, you know, when you look, George and Lydia's lack of
Control over the
Yes.
children. This leads to Peter threatening his father, and essentially a very gruesome end of this story. Because the
Yes.
idea of shutting off the house's functions is not something Peter and Wendy can live with. Some people selected A, the fact that the house is having various technical difficulties. For example, the nursery is stuck on Africa despite the children and the parents trying to fix it. Or the children trying to fix this.
No, they are
They are not.
What is Peter afraid of having to do on his own without the help of the house? And that it tells you lines 162 and 163. This is another one of those, just look back.
And it shows you the answer.
You know, it's one of those easy ones that, you know, make sure you look back. The answer is right there. And this time, though, it wasn't the last one. It was the very first one. So, again, one of those test-taking skills, look back and make sure you read all of your answer choices.
Now, this one, I had a few email questions over this one.
Yes, it's been a while since we have talked about theme.
It has.
And, you know, I wondered how many of my kiddos went back and looked in their English notebook or looked in their binder at the examples of themes. If you did out there, oh my goodness, I'm so proud. Pat yourself on the back. Even if you Googled, what is theme? And tried to you know, to self
Or emailing me, I am very grateful to receive
Yes!
questions because
Oh
that
my
shows
goodness, me too.
that they feel comfortable enough to reach out to me, and I love that.
Yes, we miss you guys. So yes, call, email when you have questions. I think the biggest thing with some of my kiddos, they forgot that theme isn't just one word.
Yes.
You know, theme is not just one word. Remember, you first select the subject to help you to develop
Yes.
a statement for the theme.
So, what would you say the theme of the story is? I had some great answers. They provided textual evidence to support their universal message that they think this story teaches us. But I just wrote down a few of the themes I thought were great. Don't rely on technology.
Yes, I had several of those.
Don't let kids do whatever they want. Good lesson. Be sure to
I can't believe
tell
you
your
said
family
that.
that. I know. Don't let things go too far. So this person went on to explain that if they hadn't let themselves grow like that attached to the technology, then this wouldn't have happened. So they said that there needs to be like they explained that there needs to be boundaries in place.
Yes, that's a lot of my answers were that too. That children do need discipline and
Yes.
structure, and of course that could be a thing. And I love too. Again, theme is like mood. There can be more than one theme.
Oh, of course.
Everybody has different experiences, and so we take different things from what we read based on our own experiences.
Right.
So there's not one right answer for theme, but you must back up your theme with textual evidence.
Don't give kids too much freedom. Another student put that, and they went on to explain like how they let them go and skip dinner and everything, and this ends up making it to where when they do put rules in place, the kids lash out and in the end kill their parents. And they also said technology isn't always a good thing to have because the kids grew obsessed with it, dependent on it. They put the line where Peter is screaming, don't let them turn you off, don't let them do this. That's how attached he is to this technology. Don't let other things live your life for you. And they put that theme with the quote of Peter saying, wait, like, how am I supposed to tie my own shoe? I'm gonna have to bathe myself. What is this? And they showed that, like, Peter doesn't even know how to live a normal life now. All he wants to do, in the quote, was that smell things and see things. He doesn't even want to go out and experience Africa himself. He just wants to sit there and imagine it.
Yeah.
So, the next question. What does Wendy's question, a cup of tea, suggest?
Okay.
I love it. I love that line.
I know, well, because that's like, all of you guys, you know I don't like horror stories. My kiddos know that I do not like scary stories. That is the scariest thing
It's
that
so
happens.
creepy.
Even to me, that scares me more than the scream.
Yes.
That you don't know what it is. Because she just says, a cup of tea. They just did this horrendous thing. She knows
Terrible.
what happened, and she's just like, a cup of tea? Oh my goodness.
It's so creepy.
Yes.
And that shows that Hood and Peter, like, feel no emotion over what they just did, over killing their parents. They're just like, would you like a cup of tea?
Bit going deeper. You just said feel no emotion. Why didn't they feel emotion? Because who was raising them?
The nursery, a piece of technology instead of a human
Oh
being.
my goodness. That's what I was going to say earlier about theme. There's so many lessons. You know, if you remember that, the theme is the lesson that the author wants you to learn. I think it was a lesson to parents, this story, but also of technology. Beware.
Absolutely.
Beware of, relying too heavily on technology.
In line 209 through 213, George asks McLean if the lions could become real. This is an example of...
And it's, we had illusion. Hopefully you guys remember what an illusion is. It's when you allude to something else. In Crispin, we had so many allusions to the Bible. We've had allusions to Greek mythology, to pop culture. A cliffhanger.
Yes.
I think you guys know what cliffhanger is. Foreshadowing and personification. Overwhelmingly, we got this right. So,
yes. So it was giving us a clue that maybe these lions could become real, which we know they do. So this is a first kind of hint that maybe the nursery is taking on a life of its own.
Right. And again, F-O-R-E, gives you that hint. Remember, we're not having the vocabulary test anymore, but remember using those prefixes, suffixes, those root words that you know to help you to determine the meaning of words.
This next question kind of helps us with the theme once again, because it is a lesson. Theme is a lesson the author wants us to know, and so now it's asking us,
how does the author, Bradbury, most likely think about the effect technology has on parents and children?
So what does he think about it? How does he think about it? Is he for technology? We can see that he most likely thinks, due to the theme, that technology can be dangerous to both parents and children because it can get in between them and it can make it to where the children become dependent on that technology and they feel a closer bond to the technology than they do their own parent.
I just wanted to point out, the Velt was published in 1950. So even in this time, Ray Bradbury had no idea what technology would come to, and so he was envisioning this smart house in 1950. And so I just wanted to point that out, that he was ahead of his time, but still concerned.
Right. So what is one character trait you would use to describe Peter? Cite textual evidence to support that description. So I had so many great answers to this. One being that he is very passionate. So they explain that he is passionate over the nursery and he is willing to do anything to maintain that nursery, to keep it for himself. And so they use the quote, "You can't do that to the nursery, you can't," while he's screaming at his family. So again, very good example of showing his passion for that nursery.
Yeah, and I had, a lot of kids who got spoiled.
Yes, I had a lot of people put that as well.
And of course, you can back that up with textual evidence. I mean, and also one lazy, because
Yes.
he was like, wait a minute, I'm going to have to brush my own teeth and tie my own shoes.
Oh, no.
You know, and you could consider that as lazy. You could also consider that as spoiled. More than one character trait would be correct as long as you back your thinking up with evidence from the text.
Absolutely. And these people did do that, and they put great things like a character trait for Peter is that he is murderous, he is heartless. I think the end very clearly backs that up with evidence. They put that he was disobedient.
Oh, yes.
Snappy, witty.
Sneaky out.
Yes. So they put snappy and witty, and they put all the remarks he said to his father, like saying, yeah, you better stop thinking about turning off the nursery, or when he actually threatened his father.
That was
So
just
all of these
disobedient.
are very, he was very quick, and again that shows his IQ level, that he was able to create these comebacks to an adult so
And
quickly.
How old did it say he was? 10?
I believe 10. I also said to the pre-AP, if you could change anything about the story, what would you change? And I had some very creative endings. Some people said that they wish that the children locked themselves in the nursery to prevent the parents from taking them out. And instead of the parents facing that unfortunate fate, the children that are locked in the nursery, the nursery turns on them.
And you know, you always have kids who are going to like the gruesome endings.
Yeah.
But I did have one that I read that they would have the parents found in the nursery, and that the children got to go to Iowa, and that they became better people.
Aww.
And the family grew close together. And I was, of course, I loved that, because you know I like my happy endings.
Yes, I had a few people say that they wish it had been a happy ending as well. I really thought this one was creative. They said that they wished Mr. McLean, the doctor, had come back early enough to get the parents out of the room, so he rescues them in time. But imagine that ending, because then the parents have to live knowing their children tried to kill them.
Ooh. Yeah.
That'd be a crazy ending. And now a video message from Miss Wilson as she explains what we will be doing today.
Hey guys, I just wanted to check in with you and see how you're doing. Today you're going to be completing a Google form that's going to give us some information so that we can help you guys and know what we need to do to help you better. Be sure that you're honest with your answers so that we can get clear data. Be sure you pay attention to the video, because we're going to ask you about that in the Google Forms. We hope you're all doing well, and we miss you.
You're watching PWP.
Pitts, Wilson, and Pitts.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again on Monday.
Have a great weekend.